Thank you very much for those of you that have entered your names and where you're coming from, attending from today into that question pane in the GoToWebinar window. Folks, it's great to have you join us today in this webinar looking at Read and Write and how your students can benefit from using Read and Write when they're studying and carrying out research. My name is Richard Michael and I come from the Text Help UK education team. And today I'll be giving you a demonstration of the study skills and research features of Read and Write. Today's webinar as well, there will be question and answers taken throughout, and if you wouldn't mind using that question pane to ask any questions, there'll be a question and answer section at the end. I'll hopefully address any of the questions that you have in that time. The features that we're going to cover today are the features that you can currently see that I've set up on the toolbar at the top of the screen there. We've got our study skills highlighters. We've got our voice note at the right hand side. We've got our PDF allowed feature. We'll be looking at reading PDF files as well. We've got our screen mask, which is like our colored overlay for the computer screen. We've got our speech maker, which creates MP3 files. We've got our screenshot reader, which reads inaccessible text and also makes PDF files or text on a web page or text in an image more accessible. We can have that converted to a Word document. We'll also look at how your students can scan in PDF files and convert those to Word documents as well to make that text a lot more accessible. We'll begin by looking at the core feature of Read and Write, which is the text-to-speech. And when we're studying, we can have any text on a computer screen converted to speech by using the play icon first and foremost at the left of the toolbar. So I just said to everyone else who had joined the webinar previous, if you've got any questions, please feel free to use the question pane on your GoToMeeting window on the right hand side of your screen. And if you'd like to just have a practice at that, if you could tell me your name and where you're attending from today, that would be great in that question pane. Firstly then, I would like to begin with looking at text-to-speech, and to have anything like this Word document that I've got on economics, to have anything read aloud, we simply click on that Word document where we want to begin reading, followed by the play icon.
Economics is more than a way to see patterns or to unravel puzzling anomalies. Its fundamental concern is with the material standard of living of society as a whole, and how that is affected by particular decisions made by individuals and institutions.
Okay, and stop the text reader there just by manually pressing that stop icon. Now, there's various changes that we can make to that text as it's being read. We can fully adjust the voice and the dual highlighting colors that you're seeing reading that text in that Word document, and we can also adjust how the voice reads the text as well. You'll see that all the features from the toolbar, you'll see most of the features there have a drop down to the right hand side of the main feature icon. Now that's where we make any changes to that particular feature is from that drop down. That's where all the options are contained. It's the main feature icon, as you've seen with the play icon, that gets that feature to carry out its task or its function. From the drop down, we can then control how the text is being read. We can decide to read by word, by sentence, or by paragraph. The other feature that I had ticked and turned on there was automatically read the next block of text. Now that allowed Read and Write to continue reading through that Word document until I manually press the stop button. To take more control over the text reader and of what is read, you could select read by sentence or read by word and turn off the automatically read next block of text, therefore taking more control over what you have being read and reading at a pace perhaps that you're more comfortable reading. The speech options just below is where we make any adjustments to that voice you're hearing there. The speech tab at the left hand side is where we make any adjustments to that voice, including the pitch, the speed and the volume. And the highlighting tab on the right hand side of the speech options is where we make any adjustments to the dual highlighting colors to aid the tracking and processing of that text by your students as it's being read. To adjust the voice and to change the voice, if you wanted to choose a female voice, for example, such as our Hazel voice.
This is your new voice. Is it okay?
We can also adjust the pitch of that voice, increasing or decreasing the pitch of the voice, increasing or decreasing the speed of the voice there as well, either by increasing or decreasing, just by sliding the arrow along the bar there. We can also increase or decrease the volume of the voice. For the purposes of today, I've increased the voice up to 100%. However, you may notice as default that voice will be set at 60 or 70. So for any of your students that you have with hearing impairment, you'll want that voice turned up to 100%, I imagine there. Also, we've got the little feature to use arrow keys to change the speed. So by ticking the tick box beside allow arrow keys to change the speed, we are allowing the upward and the downward arrow key on our keyboard to either increase or decrease the speed of that voice as it's reading the text within that Word document. Just going to go back to my default, UK Daniel, and just give you a run through then of the dual highlighting colours and making those changes within the speech options. As you can see, what we had selected and what you had seen reading the text was the yellow background with blue block highlighting. Now we've got a sample of that text in the text box there just at the bottom of that speech options window. From the drop down, we can select any of the colours that are available from that drop down, and we'll see a sample of how that text is going to appear as it's being read with those new set of highlighting colours. Okay. So we've got our speech options where we can select our voice, adjust the pitch, the speed, the volume by sliding those arrows along the bar, and also tick the tick box beside use arrow keys to change the speed of that voice there as well. From the highlighting tab, we can adjust the dual highlighting colours, again to meet the needs and requirements of the student that is using Read&Write as a text reader. So I'm going to go back to my default and just give you a little run through then. From the play drop down, we've got read by word, read by sentence and read by paragraph to select from, and also the automatically read next block of text. We'll look at reading a web page in just a second whenever we carry out some research. We can turn on Read the Web, which is just a very simple way of hovering over text on a web page to have it read aloud. The next file that we can have read is a PDF file. Okay, and we can open up any PDF file that we want to read simply by clicking on PDF Allowed and then searching through the folders within our system until we find that PDF file that we want to read. You'll notice to the right hand side of the PDF Allowed feature, there is no drop-down containing no options. Now, the reason for that is the options that we've already previously selected from the Play drop-down transfer across, and that's exactly what we're going to see and hear with the dual highlighting colours when we're reading a PDF file. So if I click on PDF Allowed, that prompts me then to search through my folders within my system to find a PDF file that I've got saved. Okay. The same options we're going to use from the Play drop-down, such as read by word, sentence or by paragraph. So any changes that we want to make as to how the text is read, we do that from the Play drop-down. You can see here we've got a little hand symbol and click and speak is turned on, and again that's indicated by the green light just above that hand symbol. So anything now that I click on within this Word document will be read aloud for me.
Response of the Equality and Human Rights Commission. Background. The Equality and Human Rights Commission. 1. The Equality and Human Rights Commission. The Commission is a statutory body established by the Equality Act 2006.
Okay, and we can then press stop to stop that being read aloud. We've also got little function buttons to adjust what page we're reading at that current moment. So to move on to page 2, okay, we can just press the downward arrow, and then because we've got click and speak turned on, anything we click on page 2 will be read aloud as well.
Since the enactment of the Human Rights Act 1998, judicial review has become the principal route for testing the compatibility of action.
So if you're wanting to keep these PDF files in PDF format, that's perfect, and that's exactly how you'll have those read aloud. We'll be looking in just a second at how we use the screenshot reader, which is this icon, how we can have any text within a PDF read aloud, and also how we can have any of that text in that PDF screenshotted and placed into a Word document. I'm just going to show you, before I do that, I'm going to show you some research that I've carried out on a web page. But before doing that as well, something which accompanies the text reader in the Read&Write toolbar is our screen mask, which is our virtual overlay for the computer screen. Again, some students to combat visual stress, or students that you encounter with Mears-Irland syndrome, may well use these coloured overlays on a day-to-day basis. The screen mask is the coloured overlay for the computer screen. To turn on the screen mask, we simply click on the main icon, but first of all I'm going to show you just how to adjust the colours to meet the specific needs and requirements of your students that are using the screen mask when they are researching and studying. So when I click on screen masking options, you can see there that the option that I've selected already comes into the background. You should see that purple tint on your screen. Now to adjust that tint and to adjust that color of the tint, we simply click on the color box. We can choose from the various range of basic colors that we've got available from the basic color palette if the student has just been tested with a range of basic colors. So to change color, click on the color that you want to select, followed by OK. We can then adjust how transparent or how opaque that screen tint appears on the screen by sliding the arrow along the bar to the most appropriate function there. The other thing that we can do within the screen masking options and to choose a more specific blend of colors, if your student has been diagnosed with Mears-Irland syndrome and provided a specific RGB number to create that specific blend of colors to meet their needs and requirements, they can click on Define Custom Colors and enter that RGB number at the right hand side. I'm just going to change the numbers up here so that you can get an idea of some of the other colors that are available. So add to the custom colors, and we simply created this just by typing in the numbers, the numbers beside red, green and blue. We then selected from the custom color palette, click on OK, and then lastly, again, like before, we can adjust how transparent or opaque that screen tint appears on the screen. The other option that we've got available when reading PDF files is our underline my mouse pointer. Okay. Again, you can click on the color box to adjust the color that you use of mouse pointer, change to blacky, that dark color. And again, we could change how transparent or opaque that underline is, and also how thick or thin the underline is as well. I suppose depending really on the line spacing that you're using or the size of the font that you're using as well.
The Commission has a statutory duty to promote equality and diversity, work towards the elimination of
and then stop whenever you're finished reading that PDF file. To turn the screen mask off, we simply click on the main screen masking icon there again. Those same options work within a web page and work within a Word document, but there's just some other screen mask options that I want to show you that we can use within a Word document as well. As we're typing and writing up an assignment, for example, options that we have are to change the system background color. So if you have any students that require different color paper printed out, we can adjust the system background color so that that Word document appears as a different color on the computer screen. Again, just by clicking on that color box and choosing one of the basic colors, for example, or a specific color, you can see that background color has now changed to meet the needs and requirements of that specific student. Other options within screen masking options contain tint the line that I'm typing on. As I begin to type, you can see that color appears on the line that I'm typing on. The next option is tint the window that I'm typing in. The fourth and fifth options are tint everything except the window that I'm typing in, and tint everything except the line that I'm typing on. And those are just some additional options that are available within Microsoft Word as you're typing up an assignment, for example. And to turn off the screen mask, we simply click on the main screen masking icon. The next section that I'm going to show you, now that we've looked at text-to-speech and converting text in a Word document to speech, a PDF file to speech, and also looked at creating our own virtual overlay, is carrying out research on a web page. Now, I've carried out some research on the topic of economics on a web page. To use, to have any of this text read aloud, we've got some various options. We can either highlight the text in that web page, followed by the play icon to have it read aloud.
Economics focuses on the behavior and interactions of economic agents and how economies work. Consistent with this focus, textbooks often distinguish between microeconomics and macroeconomics.
And stop when you're ready to stop reading there. The Read the Web option, which is just below automatically read next block of text, as soon as I turn on Read the Web and hover over any of the text in this web page, it'll be read aloud for me. So very, very good whenever browsing through web pages.
Economics focuses on the behavior and interactions of.
and then stop whenever you're wanting to stop reading there. So that's the other option. You can either highlight the text followed by play or turn on read the web, and anything then you hover over on that web page will be read aloud for you. What we can do whenever researching or carrying out research either for an assignment or research for some study that you're required to do or some revision that you're required to do for an examination, you can gather text from a web page such as this economics section within Wikipedia and have it placed into a Word document for you. We can also, as well as having that text placed into the Word document, have it referenced using the Harvard referencing system as well, so including a bibliography with that text as well. Now, how do we do that? We simply highlight text that we want to capture and place into our Word document, give it a highlight using one of our highlighters in our study skills toolbar, continue carrying out some research, and I suppose we've got the 4 different options for highlighters. We'll take a look at why there are 4 different options there in just a second of how the students can use those. But I'm going to give those a blue highlight, and if we found some further research that we wanted to collect and place into a Word document, again we can highlight it, and this time we'll give that a green highlight. Now when we're ready to collect these highlights, and we can capture highlights from multiple websites, I'm going to highlight the first paragraph, for example, highlight that in pink. And when we're ready to collect these highlights, we simply use the Collect Highlights button, which is just to the right-hand side of our Study Skills highlighters. Now, when we click on Collect Highlights, we'll be given the option, do we want to collect yellow, blue, green, or pink highlights? If we decided that we didn't want to collect the pink highlights just yet, we would just deselect the tick box beside Collect Pink Highlights, and they won't be collected until we decide to collect them later on. We can order highlights by colour, so yellow would be first, blue second, green appear third, and so on in our Word document. We can order highlights by collection time, so the first highlights that we collected would appear first in the document, and we can order highlights by the position that they appear in the document. So obviously that would be exactly the same layout as they appeared in that web page or in that Word document. We want to collect highlights from multiple documents, so we would tick that tick box if we wanted to collect from multiple Internet Explorer sites or Microsoft Word documents. And also to include a bibliography, we'll tick the tick box beside Include Bibliography and choose the Harvard referencing system to have that bibliography in. When we click on OK, a Word document will be created. It's called Document 1 with those highlights that I have collected there from that web page. The last thing that I could do, and you can see the bibliography at the bottom, is if I find the end of the URL just at the end of economics and take a space, the hyperlink has now been created for me if I ever want to revisit that web page to carry out further research or to carry out further study there on that particular topic. Lastly, if I just highlight my highlights again and use the Clear Highlights paintbrush, those highlights will then be cleared for me. So that's how to capture highlights, capture text from a web page, and have it placed into a Word document complete with the reference for where that text came from. Now the next little section of the Read and Write Study Skills toolbar that I would like to show you is our SpeechMaker icon. Now our SpeechMaker, when we had carried out some research for revision, for example, or for an assignment, some students, especially auditory learners, prefer to listen to revision notes on the move, perhaps by storing an MP3 file onto their smartphone and listening to that on the move. The SpeechMaker is the perfect tool to create an MP3 file from the text that we've captured in this Word document. So if I wanted to capture this text, I would simply highlight the text, click on the SpeechMaker icon. You can see total number of characters is given to me at the top. We've almost got 2,000 characters in that text. You're allowed a maximum of 20,000 characters, so lengthy MP3 files can be created using the SpeechMaker. When we click on Next, we'll be asked what voice do we want to hear our MP3 file being created in. We'll also be asked what pitch, what speed do we want to use as well, and again we just adjust those things by sliding the arrow along the bar. To select a new voice, just perhaps UK Emily, just for a change, we could select that voice from the drop-down. This is just an example of some of the other voices that are available to download and install within Read and Write free of charge from our Essentials www.texthelp.com website. So as I say, I'm going to change to UK Emily. When I click on next, the last thing before creating the MP3 file that I'll be asked to do is to browse to a suitable location within my system. I'm going to save it to my desktop where I would like to save that economics MP3 file. And click on save, and the last thing to do is to click on create. And if I minimize everything that I've got open, the MP3 file should appear on my desktop. There we go, economics MP3 file. And that MP3 file then can be put on anybody's tablet, can be put on any smartphone and listened to on the move, especially by auditory learners. To open that up from my desktop, I simply double click and it'll be opened up with my media player.
Economics focuses on the behavior and interactions of economic agents and how economies work. Consistent with this focus, textbooks often distinguish between microeconomics and...
I'm going to close that down just there. The next feature of the Research and Study Skills toolbar that I would like to show you is the screenshot reader. I'm going to add, in just a moment, I'm just going to add the scanner to the toolbar as well, just by clicking on the general options. And I'm going to close down the research that I've carried out and open up the PDF file that I've got open there. I'm going to remove, by clicking on general options, I can customize the toolbar that I'm currently using by adding or removing features from that. We've already looked at the screen masking feature, so I'm going to remove it from the toolbar. So you can see the screen masking feature. I'm going to remove that just by deselecting the tick box beside speech maker. I suppose we can remove as well. Screen masking, find that one as well. And just deselect the tick box to remove that and free up some space on our toolbar. The last feature that I was going to mention, I'm going to add to the current toolbar that we're using, is the scanning feature. Okay, you can see the scanner's now been added. So the next couple of features, the screenshot reader and the scanner, I'm just going to demonstrate how these features can be used by your students to make text more accessible by changing the format of the text. The screenshot reader, firstly, can be used to read any text within images or any locked PDFs that our play icon or our PDF allowed perhaps wouldn't be able to read. To use the screenshot reader, we simply click on the main screenshot reader icon. I'm just going to find a body of text. And we simply draw around any of the text that we want to capture. Now, using optical character recognition, the screenshot reader will be able to identify the text on the screen and then read it aloud for me.
Background. The Equality and Human Rights Commission won the Equality and Human Rights Commission. The Commission is a statutory body established by the Equality Act 2006. The Commission has a statutory duty to promote equality and diversity, work towards the elimination.
And if I draw a box just round a shorter piece of text, you'll see a play icon.
Response of the Equality and Human Rights Commission
Will appear in the bottom right, just in case I wanted to have that text reread without having to draw the box around that text again. Just to show you how powerful the screenshot reader can be there, we've got our text help logo on the desktop there, which is just text within an image. The screenshot reader should be able to read the text help logo for me.
Text help.
And again, we've got our play icon there in the bottom right that will read that back to us.
Text help.
And then we can close whenever we're finished reading that. The other thing, at the moment, the PDF file that I've got open currently cannot be changed or adjusted there or altered. We can't edit any of the text that's within this PDF file. But to make that more accessible, perhaps by creating a Word document or placing some of this text into a Word document, which we then can edit, we can use the screenshot reader as a screenshotter. From the drop-down, we can select Screenshot to Microsoft Word. And this time, instead of reading any of the text that I select, the screenshot reader will place this text into a Word document, allowing the student to use the play icon to read it and allowing the student also to make adjustments to the text as well. So this time, by turning on Screenshot to Microsoft Word, clicking on the screenshot reader, highlighting any of the text that we want to place into a Word document, the text isn't going to be read this time, it's going to be placed into a new Word document. And you can see Microsoft Word, and any of this text, for example, if I wanted to remove the last paragraph, I can simply delete, or if there was anything within that text that I wanted to change, I could now, using the full editability of Microsoft Word there. Also, by clicking on the play icon, the text will now be read for me.
1. The Equality and Human Rights Commission. The Commission is a statutory body established by the...
Okay, so again, just making text more accessible for the student to use. If I go back to the PDF file, I'm going to close down the Word document that I've just created, because I'm going to give you an example this time of using the scanner. That was just a small snippet of text that I used the screenshot reader to screenshot to Microsoft Word. What I'm going to show you using the scanner is how we can perhaps create a scan from PDF to Microsoft Word for a longer document, perhaps 2 pages, as you can see this judicial review is. From the scanning drop-down, we can see the outputs at the top, as in what can we create, what's going to be created from this scan. So we can scan to Word, we can scan to HTML, scan to PDF, or scan to EPUB. These are our outputs and what we can create, the file types that we can create from performing a scan using the scanner built into Read&Write. The inputs are just below that thin grey line. We can perform a scan from WIA, that's from digital camera, so anything that your student perhaps taken a photograph of, they can connect their smartphone up to their laptop or PC and perform a scan from WIA and create a Word document from that if they wanted to edit that using the full editability of Microsoft Word. The student then can perform a scan from Twain. That's if they have a flatbed scanner connected up to their laptop or PC. So any hard copies of text that they wanted to use for an assignment or for some research, they could hook up their flatbed scanner to their laptop or PC and manually feed that scanner with each page or with each page of a textbook that they wanted to scan in to their laptop or PC. And again, scan that to Microsoft Word so that they could edit the text there. And lastly, what I'm going to give you an example of is a scan from file to Word, and I'm going to scan and create a Word document from this judicial review. So I'm going to close that PDF file down. I'm going to select my options first of all, so it's going to be a scan from file to Microsoft Word. I'm then going to click on the main scanning icon, and that's going to prompt me to search through my folders to where I have that judicial review saved. So I've selected my review. It's only a 2-page PDF, so I'm going to keep the full 2 pages and scan these in for us. I'm going to click on scan. I'm then going to save this to my desktop. I'm going to call it PDF to Word scan. And when I click on save, you'll see that OCR, that optical character recognition in progress, and the PDF file that we've looked at will now be converted into a Word document. We can then use the play icon to read any of that text.
Response of the Equality and Human Rights Commission. Background. The Equality and Human Rights Commission. The Equality and Human...
Okay. And again, we can adjust how the voice reads that text, or how the dual highlighting colours that highlight the text as being read appear from the speech options section within the play drop-down. The last little feature that I would like to cover with you today, folks, and I suppose it's a feature that can be used by both students and by members of staff, is the voice note that you can see at the right-hand side of the toolbar there. The voice note, as it suggests, is just how you can input your own voice into and embed into a Word document. A student could perhaps use a voice note to make a note to something that they want to add to an assignment or add to some revision notes. I suppose a member of staff could, I suppose, when assessing a student's work or drafts of a student's work, provide that student with a voice note, providing them with some feedback there. It'll be often easier for a student to understand what changes has to be made to an assignment via voice note rather than a written comment. Written comments can sometimes be misconstrued, and also it's not as monotonous for that member of staff leaving voice notes as opposed to the written comments and written feedback on students' work. As you'll see, once the voice note is embedded into the Word document, it'll be available and there for the student to pick up. So if at the end of the first section of this judicial review, I can make a click on the area where I want to add my voice note, I'll then click on the voice note icon, And you can see there the microphone's being detected. My voice is being detected by the microphone. As you can see, that green line is currently moving. When I'm ready to start recording, I click on Start Recording, and if it was, for example, a student wanting to put in a reminder, I need to find out some additional information about the Equality and Human Rights Commission and add it into this paragraph. Stop recording. The student can then replay, save, or insert that voice note into the text. So they're going to insert and then close down the voice note, and you can see that that voice note has been inserted into the text ready for me to read. To open up that voice note, I simply double click, followed by play. I need to find out some additional information about the Equality and Human Rights Commission and add it into this paragraph. Or if we were coming from a staff member's point of view and wanting to provide feedback for that student, okay, I'll click where I want to provide the feedback, click on the voice note again, click on Start Recording. That's a fantastic second paragraph. However, I would add in some additional information about the Equality and Human Rights Commission. Stop recording and then insert and open up that MP3 file in exactly the same way, just by double clicking and by clicking on open. That's a fantastic second paragraph, however, and close once we're ready to close that. Any of these voice notes can be copied and pasted to another section of that Word document, or if they applied to several students, they could be copied and pasted to another section of that Word document. Folks, just to recap on what we've looked at so far today within the Study Skills toolbar, we've looked at the text-to-speech and converting text-to-speech in a Word document by the play icon, a PDF file via PDF Allowed, and we've also looked at adjusting how the text is read within Word documents and within PDF files, and also within web pages. Within web pages, we can either highlight the text followed by play, or make sure that Read the Web's on and simply hover over any of the text that we want to have read there. The option to read by word, sentence and paragraph are always available to us for any students who want to take greater control of what text is read there. Also, by turning off automatically read next block of text, the student will have more control over what's read on the screen. The Study Skills highlighters capture any text just by highlighting and giving them a highlight using the Study Skills highlighters. Collect highlights collects all the highlights that you've got collected and places them into a Word document complete with that bibliography in the Harvard referencing format. Once we've collected highlights, we can use that MP3 maker, that speech maker, to create an MP3 file, especially for your auditory learners who prefer to learn by listening and perhaps learning on the move by putting an MP3 file onto their smartphone or tablet. We can make text more accessible by using the screenshot reader. The screenshot reader will read any text within an image or read any locked PDFs simply by drawing that box around them. The screenshot reader will also screenshot to a Microsoft Word document where we can then use the full editability of Microsoft Word to make text more accessible, to make text work for us. Also then lastly, the scanner. We can scan to any of the above outputs, creating a Word document. We can scan to HTML, scan to PDF, and scan to EPUB, and any of the following inputs can be input into the scanner within Read&Write, either a scan from file, a scan from a flatbed scanner, or a scan from a digital camera, including the digital camera in your smartphone, for example. The voice note, just by clicking on voice note and inserting a voice note into the text where you want that to be, can insert just a voice note, a reminder to yourself if you're a student, or perhaps providing a student with some feedback if you're a member of staff there by using the voice note with some changes to make to an assignment or to a piece of revision. So folks, I hope all those demos were clear for you, and I hope that those features can be used by your students and members of staff there. I'm going to pause now for a few moments and just take the opportunity, or provide you with the opportunity, to ask any questions in that question pane within the GoToMeeting window. I'll just check that question pane now to see if there's any questions that are already in there. So I'll pause for a few moments. Please feel free to ask any questions that you wish there. You'll all receive a recording of today's webinar, and if you've got any questions after today, please feel free to get in touch with us via the following email address. I think it will be beneficial to put that up on the screen now for you to view. Thank you very much. The first question coming in there is, what is the maximum size of a document that can be scanned using the scan function? Now, unfortunately, I'm not familiar with the maximum size. That is something that I will find out for you and will send an answer to that question to all of you today. I suppose the maximum scan that I have ever completed was a 30-page exam paper. I know there's documents that you want to that are a lot larger than that you would like to scan. What I can do is I can check that out for you and give you all an answer to that question, the maximum size of a document that can be scanned using the scan function. So I'll get an exact number of pages or size for you and pass that on to everyone today. Thank you. Hi, another question coming in there, folks. Just wanted me to repeat where we can find other voices to download there, and it's from our essentials.texthelp.com website. That's where Read&Write is downloaded and installed from. So if I show you just clicking on essentials.texthelp.com, you'll be asked to enter the Essentials site just by entering in your serial number there. When you find, or where do you find your serial number to enter that in? That's a good question as well to answer. From the toolbar options drop-down, you'll find your serial number from the About section here. This is where I was just making adjustments to my toolbar by adding and removing features a little bit earlier. When I click on About, I'll see my toolbar here. If I copy, that's my serial number there, I'll just copy that and paste it into the serial number box and then log in. And if I wanted to download additional voices, that's where we install, and the installation guide for the software is available in that Essentials site. To download any additional voices, we click Additional Voices, and we've got a list of voices there that you can see. So there's a lot of international voices there, Portuguese, French, Spanish, German, Belgian, Dutch. And the nice thing about those voices are any text that that you come across in that language, whether it be in a Word document, whether it be in a website, if you've got Portuguese website or Portuguese text in a Word document, and you select Portuguese Felipe voice, for example, that voice will read that text in that language for you as well. Unfortunately, it won't translate English text into Portuguese, but it will read Portuguese text and a Portuguese web page in Portuguese. I hope that answers that question. Please feel free to ask any other questions there. I just have a feeling with regard to the scanning question, I think that there may not be a limit as to how many pages can be scanned. I suppose a longer scan or more pages, it just will take a longer time. You can see the scanner there with 2 pages. I think it took a maximum of 10 seconds to complete that scan. I think the time limit that it takes is just going to increase, but again, that's something we're just going to double check for you and get you that maximum number that can be scanned. If there is a maximum number, it'd be great. Obviously, if we found out that there was no maximum number. I'm going to continue looking at the questions. Just from anyone that is still left in today's webinar, is there another thing that I'm quite happy to do today? If there's any other demonstrations of any of the other features that you'd like to see and like to request, that's certainly something I'm more than happy. If there's anything today that you'd like me to run over again, that's something I'm more than happy to do for us. Well, folks, thank you very much indeed for joining me today as we looked at how the research and study skills side of the Read and Write toolbar can be used by your students. As I say, today's webinar has been recorded and you'll all receive a recording of that within the next few days. I'll also answer any questions answer the question that I didn't quite fully address there today as well. Any other questions that you have, that email address is currently on your screen, that education@texthelp.com. Please feel free to get in touch with us. We'll be more than happy. Any one of us in the team will be more than happy to answer any questions that you have there. Thank you very much.